Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. My special guest, Sarah Stevens from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you are here.
Pleasure to be here.
We were reminiscing off camera about life and how things turn about and medical issues and all those things that we've dealt with. And but I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you can make it today. Actually, a little bit about Sarah. Born in Ohio, moved to India. Talk a little about Sarah.
Yeah, so I was born in Worthington, moved to Indiana for college a little over 10 years ago.
You can say the name of the college. It's okay.
Anderson University.
Yeah, all right.
It was a great place. Had a good time. Ended up meeting my husband in Indiana, so we lived there together for about 7 years, and we just moved back 6 months ago to Westerville.
Right. Well, we're glad to have you back.
No, it's good to be back.
We're glad to have you back. You are actually a caseworker with Job and Family Services.
I am.
Through the Dave Thomas Foundation. Talk a little bit about the Dave Thomas Foundation.
Sure. So I am the Wendy's Wonderful Kids adoption recruiter for Fairfield County, and it is a grant-funded position through the Dave Thomas Foundation for adoption. So I work with kids who have been abused and neglected and who have been lingering in the foster care system. And my goal is to find permanency through adoption for those kids.
So how did you get involved in that? The first question is, after graduating from college, you worked in Indiana as a Child Protective Services
I did.
caseworker. How did this come about?
Yeah, so for 5 years when I was working for the Department of Child Services as an investigator, an adoption worker came to me and talked to me about the position, Wendy's Wonderful Kids, and they were hiring a new worker for the grant held in Indianapolis, which I covered over 50 counties in that area. So when we decided to move back to Ohio, and I found that Ohio has more than 45 recruiters, and I only had to take one county, it was a huge blessing to be able to just come back.
Now, when you first started doing this in Ohio with the Dave Thomas Foundation, were you surprised? Or had you been prepared for this, to do this, or was it?
Yeah, I felt prepared. I had been doing it for a year and a half in Indianapolis, and then 6 months here. So I know the model really well. We work on a child-focused recruitment model, which the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption had created about 10 years ago. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary this year.
Wow.
And we have over 4,000 kids who have had their adoptions finalized throughout the U.S. and Canada. We have
4,000.
Yep. Wow. We've served, as recruiters, we've served over 10,000 kids. And there's almost 200 recruiters throughout the U.S. and Canada. So it's doing great work, but the child-focused recruitment model is getting to know our kids that we're working with really well. So I have a small caseload, only up to 15 kids. I get to know them really well, and I do a lot of digging into their past about who they've been connected to, whether it's therapists, foster parents, teachers, neighbors, biological family members who maybe weren't present when the child was removed but are now present. So I do a lot of digging, a lot of investigative work with that, and try to locate permanency, an adoptive home for these kids using their connections.
Now, is it difficult to, when you first get to meet someone that, how does that go about? How do you?
It can be very difficult because not all the kids on my caseload necessarily want to be adopted at first. So a lot of the work is adoption preparation, overcoming those myths that adoption is giving up on your birth family, not having anything to do with them. That's not necessarily the case. A lot of that is in control for the kid. The kid can control that still. So a lot of it is overcoming those myths and misconceptions of what adoption is.
When families come together, I guess, for the first time, explain that, just what that's like.
It's an awesome moment. It's something that I take a lot of honor to be a part of. So I had matched about 10 kids in 1 year last year in Indiana. That's a good number of kids that have been lingering in foster care for years. And to be a part of that first meeting is really quite amazing. Some families feel a connection quicker than other families. Some families go in so committed, right, even before knowing the kid, that it works so smoothly. But it's interesting to watch the kid and the potential new adoptive family getting to know each other.
Has there ever been something that, well, I wasn't ready for this, I just wasn't ready to do this? Or?
On the family part or the kid part?
Both of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's.
I mean, you think that you're prepared,
Sure.
but you're meeting somebody who could be a new family member for life. That's nerve-wracking.
The qualifications for kids to get into this, do they have to apply? What's the?
So the adoption caseworker in Ohio would refer the kids here. I focus a lot on teenagers, ages 14 and older, all the way to 18, 19, whatever their age might be, as long as they're still in the foster care system, and as long as permanency is a need for them.
Are there other organizations that do this too, or is this unique to Dave Thomas?
This is unique. The child focused recruitment model is unique to the Dave Thomas Foundation.
Because he was adopted.
He was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to meet him? Were you?
I didn't. I would have been honored to do so, but he has a great team of people who follow this model, and Dave's philosophy was that it's not somebody else's responsibility to raise our children. It's our responsibility as a community to raise our children. And so he really was a huge advocate for kids in foster care to be adopted. His slogan is unadoptable is unacceptable, that there's no child who should not be adopted.
Wow.
And we believe that.
That is. Now, do you have kids of your own?
I do. I have 2.
Boys, girls?
Girls.
I have 3 girls. So. Do you have those moments when you're hugging your kids, and I mean, is it difficult to separate, I guess, maybe between life and working with the adoptive kids?
You know, I have an interesting case because my girls are my stepdaughters, but my husband and I have full custody of our girls. And so I met them when they were 5 and 11 years old. And so I've known them for 8 years now. So I have the privilege of understanding what it's like going into
absolutely.
a family with older kids, that you didn't know them when they were infants. You didn't have that bonding and attachment as infants, that you as the parent are responsible for doing that now as they're older, and it's possible.
Wow. Advice for somebody that would want to get into this type of social work?
Definitely. As social work or as...
Or just what you're doing right now.
So if you have a passion to do it, definitely be... the Dave Thomas Foundation has a website, davethomasfoundation.org. And you can go on their website, and it has a list of recruiters, and sometimes it might have a blank name for recruiters that are needed. But checking with your local foster care agencies, especially the county agencies, because a lot of our counties are hiring constantly for caseworkers. And our county was fortunate to be approached by the Dave Thomas Foundation requesting that we have a recruiter in Fairfield County.
Now, are there any times that they do active recruiting? I mean, the foundation itself, do they actively look for people throughout the year, or like maybe they do it in the spring or the fall? Or?
The Dave Thomas Foundation will approach an agency who they feel would be competent and understanding of the model to be able to work it. So Fairfield County, before I had come on board, had occasionally used a recruiter from Franklin County.
Okay.
But because of that distance, it didn't work as great as it could when somebody's actually in the county. So then Dave Thomas Foundation approached our agency and asked for us to write a grant so that they could provide.
Now, do you like grant writing? Do you?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because some people don't. I mean, they,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah. I like it.
What do you like about it?
I like being responsible for my job. I mean, I really
Responsibility.
Ultimately, it would be my responsibility if my grant were not renewed because I wouldn't, if I'm not working the model the way it's supposed to be done, if kids aren't being adopted through the model, then that's my responsibility. There was a 5-year research study that the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption completed through Child Trends, who's an evaluation company. They do these research models. And kids on the Wendy's Wonderful Kids caseload are up to 3 times more likely to be adopted than kids who are not.
Wow.
So that's pretty significant numbers. And the older the kid is, the more likely that child will be adopted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you share ideas with other people? I mean, in other states, I know coming from Indiana to Ohio, but ever conferences you get together and talk about what works and what doesn't work?
Yeah. I just returned yesterday from 3 days of the Wendy's Wonderful Kids Summit. It's a 3-day summit that's held in Columbus, Ohio, every year. And we have speakers who come for all 3 days to train us about the recruitment model. We have them train us about attachment and bonding and adoption preparation. And so there was about 400 of us,
Wow.
recruiters and supervisors, just at this conference. And it's always inspiring.
Now, when you do that, do you get invited to go to other people's counties and just let's talk about this in depth, or steal ideas, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a team at the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption who leads that pathway for sharing the recruitment model and encouraging people to participate. Ohio is really special because our Ohio Department of Job and Family Services has partnered with the Dave Thomas Foundation. It's the only state to do that in the U.S. and Canada. And so we have about 55 recruiters in Ohio. Where I came from in Indiana, we only had 4 to cover the whole state. So Ohio's really accepted the model and understood that if this works, and it's cost effective for counties, you no longer have to pay for kids to linger in a placement that's not permanent. It's a win-win situation.
You ever keep in touch with kids that you've worked with in Indiana or even those in Ohio?
I do. It's important for all of our kids to have connections. And when I worked with them for a year and a half and then I leave, that's a hard thing, and it's even harder for them because this is what they see, kids in foster care. They see people coming in and out of their lives.
That's neat. If Sarah Stevens weren't doing this, what would Sarah Stevens be doing?
I can't imagine doing anything else.
Really?
It really is. I feel extremely blessed to have this job. It really fell into my lap, and it's just perfect for what I believe and what I want to do with my life.
Wow, that is neat. That is fantastic. Do you have plans to build on what the foundation has already have? I mean, is there something that you could go back to them and say, gee, why don't we try this?
If I thought of something, I would definitely share it with them. But it's amazing how on top of things they are. That if something's not working, they're tweaking it. They're there to help support me and make my job as easy as it possibly can, so that I have all the time in the world to focus on my kids and finding somebody who loves them.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Well, in addition to all this responsibility, you do work with Job and Family Services, the Child Protective Services group.
Yeah.
And I know they've been busy this last month. There's been a lot of activity going on.
Yeah, it's a busy month.
For them. And people always talk about foster parenting. What is a foster parent?
Yeah. So a foster parent is somebody who is amazing and has the ability to open their home to kids who are in foster care. Kids who are in foster care have either been abused or neglected by the family that they were originally living with. So they come into foster care when we can't find a relative who's either willing or appropriate or able to care for their own relative child. Then our next step is to look at foster parents. And we're always in need, and this month is Foster Parent Appreciation Month.
And qualifications to be a foster parent, I mean, I know there's probably a list, but just briefly, what it takes to be a foster parent?
Yeah, so number one is being open to inviting a child of any age, 0 to 18, into your home and be a part of your family. The idea of foster parenting is that you would be taught through 36 hours of classes how to be aware of that child's past trauma. So abuse and neglect is very traumatizing for kids. So we want you to be well aware of that. You would go through background checks being fingerprinted. We want you to be stable, have stable housing, being financially secure. Those are just some of the things that we would require.
And the foster parents, they have a caseworker that's assigned to them.
Definitely,
So that
yeah.
If they need some help or assistance.
Definitely. They would have the support of their foster care worker, and then the support of the whole team that comes with the kids.
Right.
So there would be the therapists and the teachers and whoever else is on board with the kid.
And administratively, there's some expenses that could be paid for the foster parent. And, I know that I haven't been to invited one yet, but I know there's a big foster care banquet that at the end.
That we put on. We're doing a play this year. So some of the foster care workers will be up on stage doing a play.
I actually was in that play last year. I just want to say that.
I did not volunteer myself for the play this year.
It's fun. It is a good time. It really is.
It'll be fun. I'm doing the photography.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Albert Dornale was my character last year. Just in case you want to look it up. But, it's fun. They do a good time. Just a couple numbers. There's 196 children in custody right now.
Yeah, just in our county, Fairfield County. 196 in our custody. 99 of those kids are in foster care. So you can recognize the need that we have for people to contact us either on our website or by phone to become a part of the process of being a foster parent. We're always in need. But our county
question can you be a single parent and be a foster parent?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can be a single parent. Our agency does an amazing job of placing kids with kin, meaning a relative or somebody that the child already knows who has a relationship with. But there are kids who need foster parents to step up and open their home for them. So.
And then there's 53 that are in the network. They're not in foster homes?
Right. So they're actually in network means that they're in a foster home that is licensed by a private agency. So there are different agencies out there that are private agencies that will license foster homes. And in Fairfield County, our county agency, the Job and Family Services, also licenses foster homes. So 46 of those 99 kids are in our own foster homes, which are here in Fairfield County. But because we don't have enough foster homes for all of our kids, 53 of those are placed in foster homes that are licensed by private agencies. some of those homes might be outside of Lancaster.
There are 80 in kinship care. Talk about what is kinship care.
Kinship care is a great focus, especially for the Dave Thomas Foundation, because again, that means that the child already has a relationship with those parent or parents who have opened their home. So kinship care might be grandma and grandpa, biological. They might be aunt and uncle. They might be the neighbor who's known them for 3 years, 5 years. So it's somebody that the child already has a relationship with. And those are absolutely ideal if the child cannot be safe with biological parents. Kinship is the next best thing because it's a little more comfortable for the kids.
There are 46 that are in agency foster homes, which is different than the network foster homes.
Right. Agency foster homes means that Fairfield County Job and Family Services has licensed them. So we have caseworkers who are employed through the Job and Family Services who do the training themselves, who write the home study, which is a document that talks about you as the potential foster parent, how you came to become wanting a foster parent, talks about multiple different things about your life, and our agency licenses those homes.
And that was as of the 16th of May, all those numbers.
Yeah.
But in 2013, 83% of the adoptions were finalized by foster parents.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's amazing because again, the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, the Wendy's Wonderful Kids model is focusing on who is the kid already connected to, if they're open for adoption, who is the most family-like setting for them. And if they've lived in those foster parents' homes and have an attachment with them, then absolutely we encourage our foster parents to adopt the kids if they're open to that. Not all foster parents are open to adopting kids.
And then there's another program that you're heavily involved with, and the reality program. Talk a little bit about reality.
So the reality program is unique to Fairfield County, and this is a home where kids who are much older, typically around 17 years old, who are maybe going to college next year or are aging out of the system at age 18, who maybe don't want to be in a foster home, would rather be participating in an independent living facility. And that's kind of what this home offers. It offers the opportunity for them to work very closely with their independent living skills caseworkers.
How many kids are in that program?
There's currently 3 kids right now,
so-
but one of them will be leaving because I found an adoptive home for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now when they leave, I'm sure it's kind of tugging at your heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah, I'm okay with that though. I'd rather have family is much more important than a caseworker.
So when Sarah's not working with youth and doing all this, what's Sarah do to unwind? And I know we talked about soccer earlier.
Yeah.
You used to play soccer a long time ago.
Yep, love playing soccer, love to run. My husband and I are really big on hiking, and we've even drug our kids along for the backpacking trips, which the younger one is fond of. The older one is not interested in carrying a backpack.
Do you have any place you really want to go to do backpacking or hiking? Or
We'd love to go to Glacier National Park.
Ah.
Yeah, last summer we went to Pictured Rocks in Michigan. Stunning. It's part of the Upper Peninsula. We went on a 5-day backpacking trip.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Now, how much do you have to walk to do that? I mean, is it like you walk 10 miles before you go? Or?
That was about a 40-mile hike.
40-mile hike.
Days. Yeah. So, and of course, I'm carrying like a 30-pound pack on my back, and my husband's is probably 50 pounds. So it's a lot of weight that you're carrying around with you. Yeah.
Now, how did you get into that? I mean, just one day decided I wanted to do this. Husband said, we're going backpacking?
Husband says, we're going backpacking. And I said, okay. We loved hiking, so it was just the next natural step was to sleep in the wilderness overnight and get up and do it again the next day.
The first time you did it, were you like, I don't know about this?
The first day we did it, it was rainy and there were mosquitoes.
Oh, my.
But we were ready for the next adventure. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Well, Sarah, it's been great talking to you again. We're talking with Sarah Stevens, who is the recruiter for Dave Thomas's Foundation for Adoption, Wendy's Wonderful Kids. And, it's been great having you here.
Thank you.
As we were talking earlier about medical issues and all those things we both have experienced, and when you talk with those kids for the first time, do you relate any of those things that this is what life's about, and this is
That there are whether or not you're in the foster care system, you can't let your circumstances weigh you down from recognizing that there is a future for you, that you are loved, and that somebody wants and would be blessed to be a part of your life.
That's fantastic. Well, again, we appreciate you coming in. One more time, phone number, website, they can get a hold of you, or
Definitely.
stop by the Reality House. You
Yeah.
can tell them where the Reality House is at.
It's off of Baltimore Road, but my information is all online. So you would go to fcjfs.org, and there's a link for foster care and adoption. So you would get the phone number on that website, which is 740-653-4060. And then my personal number that they can call me is 740-438-2297. I'm always happy to help guide people through the process.
Again, we appreciate you coming on and giving us an update of what's happening, and we'll have you back on again and give us an update on how many miles you hiked. What's the long? Is that the longest?
That was the longest one we've done so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's any plans to go far? Grand Canyon? Is that something
That would be fun.
A friend of mine did that.
That would be fun.
Yeah, he was telling me about how he had to train to get into it.
Oh
and
yeah.
he
That
had to-
heat.
That's and you can stop so much, but if you want out, they've got to come and get you. And
Yeah, they'd have to have a helicopter
yeah,
come
they
and
come
get
and
you.
get you.
That would be embarrassing.
For me, well, I have two fake knees. I probably couldn't walk to the concession stand. But well, again, Sarah, we appreciate you coming in, and thanks for tuning in to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller, and remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
All right, give me a spot. You know my motto, safety first.
They could be dangerous. I think we should call animal control.
Animal control.
To be safe.
Don't worry.
Just...
I got this. It's a new motto.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.